Hi, it's Andy from Body to Fit, and like everybody at the moment who's expected to work from home predominantly, I've just put this video together really just to try and give you some hints and tips with how you're going to get through the months ahead of working from home, particularly with most of us as we're expected to be working on maybe a laptop. So hopefully I'll go through some hints and tips that'll look at different scenarios of things that you can do to improve your setup at home, and also some of the don'ts we want, which is maybe some habits that we get into with working on laptops. Okay, so hopefully these hints and tips might maybe try and minimize any potential sort of aches and pains, particularly in your back, your neck or your arms. Okay, so to begin with, the chair. Now, in terms of your chair at home, many of us will probably realise at times we've spent working on laptops, on settees, couches, even on our bed sometimes, yeah, dining room chairs. So generally sitting on settees, couch over like this, or in your bed leaning back, not ideal, right? So it's okay for very, very short spells, 5 minutes doing a quick email or a few bits and bobs, but not really spending any length of time at all if you can on your settee or your chair, armchair working. So my kind of setup trying to work from home doing bits in this environment is I've got a standard pretty basic kind of chair. It's not great, it's not ideal, but it's what I've got to work with. So as long as if you can get something that's got an upright back and it's fairly sort of sturdy, that's what you're kind of after, okay? It's not going to be the luxury of your office chair that you've got where you can adjust the height, you can adjust the depth maybe, or the tilt, or the backrest tilt. So what you're going to try to do then is sit. When you're sitting on your chair, the first thing you're going to try to look at is the height of your chair, okay? The height of your chair, what you've got won't adjust in height, but you want to look at it in relation to the table height that you're going to be working on, okay? So whether it's a table like I've got in this instance, or a dining room table, whatever it might be, is have a look and sit on the chair that you're on first, and then see where your arms are at in its position relative to the table, okay? So in this instance, what I'm looking at is, when I'm looking straight ahead, I'm sitting on the chair, is where the forearm angle is. And as you can clearly see in my example here, my chair is just too low. So what's happening is my forearm angle here is dropping down and my wrist angle is further up. So the only really thing I'm going to do to improve the height is stick something underneath. So I'm sitting on something like a cushion or a pillow to boost the height of this chair, or my position in the chair, to try and allow this arm to be a bit higher up. So in this instance, I've just used a rolled up kind of pillow, but just whatever you can get your hands on. Just sit, if you can, just on top of it, yeah? So it's improved a bit of that. I feel a bit higher up. And again, if I bring myself forward a little bit and then sit in straight ahead, look back at the screen, but then just see where the angle is. If you raised higher, I feel a little bit more comfortable that the elbow is not dropping down here like it was before. It's straighter to the wrist, okay? The next thing is the chair itself. This one, and like many others, doesn't offer any lumbar support at all, okay? So to try and, when I say lumbar support, is kind of supporting your lower back, okay? So because many of us on any chair, we might end up just slumping and sitting in these kind of curled positions. We'd like something to try and offer a little bit of a boost in the lower back that kind of maintains this kind of nice upright kind of posture, so we're looking straight ahead. All right, so two options. First option is, if you want the cheaper option, just a rolled up towel, roll it up in a sausage shape, yeah, so it's kind of like this, pop it in your lower back, right in sort of where your waistline would be, yeah, not too low, but just where when you sit on it, you should feel, get it in a position that feels comfortable, and then it should help maintain the lower back curve. Now again, some of the back's unsupported because I haven't got the chair rested on the back, but I feel happy that it's propping me up and I can maintain this kind of nice open shoulders position here, head straight ahead. Okay, I've still got that nice forearm angle. Feet are flat on the floor. Okay, and that's generally as good as you're going to get with a standard kind of chair. Okay, I'll come on to the support of the arms just in a second. So once you've improved that height, the next thing is to then look at what your setup is of your screen. So I'm using the example in this scenario that most people might be using a laptop of some device and not a PC. If it is a PC that you're using, then obviously you're trying to set that up similarly to what we're talking about, or trying to replicate how it would be set up at work. Anyway, so we're on a laptop, and like many of us already might be in this position where we're sitting and we're kind of almost like laptops on the table, we're typing straight ahead, and we might be nice and comfortable in the lower back of the chair here, but we might be looking down. Okay, that's a common thing, is that my head is looking below the middle third of the screen and I'm kind of crouching like this. So I might get away with that with working for a few minutes here and there and getting up and moving around and not really notice it, but generally if I'm going to be working like this week in, week out over the months ahead and curling around, I'm going to maybe start to get some tension and some neck related symptoms up here and shoulder symptoms through the time spent here. So how are you going to get around that? Well, maybe ideally the best scenario, if I start with that first, is to try and improve the height of your laptop. So what I've done in this instance is I've got a box file here, as you can maybe see. I've got a book. Yeah, we've all got plenty of kind of books lying around the house. So if I maybe place that laptop on top of here, and I'm looking straight ahead. So I know this is my arm angle, which I'm happy with, and my lower back supported. But if I look straight ahead, I'm looking for my eye level to be kind of at the middle to the upper third of the screen. So when I'm looking at that, it's pretty good, but maybe just a little touch higher. So again, maybe using the scenario of just a book, just pop underneath, just to see if I can raise that a bit higher. Again, looking at just the height of that screen. So I could generally maybe think just one more maybe. Again, hopefully you've got plenty of books. You might need to beg, borrow and steal if you can off some friends and family. Right, great. So that feels better in terms of probably where I'm at. I feel happy with being upright here. Like I say, I could if I wanted to, if I was getting a bit tired and dropping a bit, I might put another book under. Okay, so that is kind of where I would start. Now then you think, well, that's okay, the head is in a better position, I'm not dropping down, I'm straight ahead, but what about your typing position? So in this scenario, because that's not ideal to be typing up at your keyboard, and what I've done in this example, which is probably your best scenario, is to use a separate keyboard. So it's just a USB scenario, separate keyboard, plug it in to a USB connection. So now my arms are not up here, they're in I've got that angle of my forearm, so I'm just typing here. All right. So I'm not asking everyone to go out and buy one of these, but if you've got anyone, if you ask around, you know, if in that scenario, if anyone's not using one at the moment, what I did was I just went out and bought one, and a separate keyboard would set you back. Maybe in some instances, this one was like $7.99. So this was from Argos, so you get them from Amazon. So they're not really that expensive if you go for a budget version, and you can obviously plug that in. There is some wireless ones which are a bit more expensive, but that would improve this angle. So the arms are more here. So then this is the ideal scenario. We'll speak about some other options just in a second. At that point, I've got this angle, but as you can maybe see, I'm straight ahead. I've got the neck position is okay, but my arms are a little bit unsupported, so I can feel quite a bit of this arm here just kind of hanging a bit. There's nothing wrong with using the table. So if you can support, if you've got no armrests, you know, you've got this scenario where a chair's got no armrest is you've got to try and use the table a bit if you can, reduce some tension on the neck. So what I'm going to do is push the box file and the books as far away, but if I want to check that distance, if I reach my arm out, I can still just about touch the screen. So that's your test for your distance in terms of your typing angle. Anything that's a little bit closer, it's a bit too close for eyes, you want to kind of have an outstretched arm. So that's the ideal position there. If I push the keyboard now, if I push it back and I'm sitting close, I can generally feel I've got more of this arm supported. So if I relax the arm here and I can type, and I feel happy that the neck is relaxed because the arm is supported and I'm looking straight ahead. All right, so that's the ideal scenario. Then in this instance, I've got a wireless mouse, but whether it's wired or not makes no difference. It's your mouse position should be kind of still at this close angle here, and it doesn't want to be too far away. So sliding the mouse further away and working like this is generally going to lead to some upper limb neck tension areas. So try and keep, where possible, your mouse a bit closer so that it's a little bit closer to this right angle position if you can. Now that's that ideal position. Now if you're not going to get one of these, you know, I'm not buy one, that's your ideal setup. If not, if you haven't got one of these and you're on a laptop and it's at this kind of angle we talked about, and you could use maybe a book or two to slightly improve that height as we've talked about. But generally what you've got to do then, if that's your position, is to ensure that you're limiting your time of spent in a fixed looking down position. So I would be certainly not looking for longer than 45 minutes to an hour if you've got that looking down angle, and try and change postures. Get up, have a move, have a stretch, a few exercises which I'll come on to in the next video. So you'd really try to maybe set a timer on your phone, maybe a countdown timer for an hour, and think, well, I know I'm sitting looking down a bit like this at a table and you need to get up and move. Okay, I don't want that to detract away if you've got a task, so try and get through that task that you're focusing on for your job. But in that time, if you know that task is going to be maybe a couple of hours, or you're going to be 2 or 3 hours without moving, is try to limit at least for an hour where you can get up, go and get a glass of water, come back, something, a bit of a stretch of the neck, so you're breaking that down for 5 minutes if you can. All right. So that really is trying to give you some hints and tips of a bit of a chair that you can't adjust, where you can make some adjustments with a pillow or a roll. Just to recap the angle there, that you've improved the height, and trying to, where possible, maybe use some books and a box file to get that height higher. And then in that scenario, you'd be trying to use a separate keyboard. Now all this is in relation to sitting at the table. I think what could be useful to suggest as well for people, if you potentially going to be the weeks and months ahead still from home, is see if also you can alternate part of the day, maybe perhaps the morning or the afternoon. Afternoons we generally get a bit more fatigued and a bit tired. So maybe look to see if you can then work in a standing position. Again, it might be with the laptop. Again, it might be to adjust the height with books and things and the separate keyboard. But I'll show you the example of that now in terms of maybe standing. And the best scenario for that is maybe at a kitchen table, because we know a kitchen table is higher. And if it's higher, we still might need some books and things to raise the height. But if you're standing, it's giving your back a bit of a break in your neck. It's a different posture. It's encouraged. Tend to maybe waking up a little bit. And like I say, you could alternate some time in sitting and then maybe at a kitchen table. So I'll come on to that now.